So this is
Recording.
this is the third episode of the Let's Talk Life of Ben podcast. And today we have on Connor, who also has a podcast as well. And that's the Art of Interesting People. So first of all, cheers for coming on, Connor. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, mate. I'm buzzing to be here.
That's great. That's great. And what we'll go for is we'll just talk about each of our channels. We'll go between each other. Connor also might put it on his podcast as well if I send him the audio and stuff. So we'll just see how it goes. So I don't know if you want to start it, Connor. What's your first sort of intro to it? Where do you want to start the conversation?
Well, I know it's your podcast, but yeah, no, I'm buzzing to be here, mate. I'm buzzing that you've asked me to come on and talk about my podcast, and I want to talk about your podcast and your life and everything like that. So yeah, but no, like we'll talk about like how we met really, because I've known you for quite some time, but we haven't like really met up. But yeah, like we met when we were, how old were we?
For like 12 or 13, maybe something like that.
12 or 13?
Yeah,
it was ages ago, but we used to play cricket with each other at Seaton back in the day, which was, mate, thinking about that back in the day was quite funny, because I used to bowl and then you used to be a spin bowler.
Yeah.
We used to be like the back of the pecking order in terms of how good we were.
Yeah, we were. We're definitely like the water boy type people. We were at the 10 and 11. We were at the back.
It's annoying as well because I've tried like every single sport in the book, and I've tried football, I've tried kickboxing, I've tried cricket, obviously.
Yeah.
But that was like the only sport that I thought I was all right at. And I remember getting a couple of wickets, thinking I was like, yeah, I'm the boy on me. And I remember like I used to go to you at the end of the session if it was like a shit game, and I'd be like, fucking hate this one. Oh, can I swear, by the way?
Yeah, go for it. It's fine.
Yeah, we used to play cricket.
Yeah, that's kind of where we met. So that'll have been like 11, 12, so about 9-10 years ago, maybe something like that.
So
quite a while. And obviously we're both not cricketers now, so we both did pack it in. So
yes. I know, I'm not a batsman.
Nah, our speciality was kind of like the third man field, right on the boundary, getting a bit cold. So what I thought I'd do then, I'll start with we'll talk about your podcast. Like you say, because you're kind of the guest to start here. So what was the inspiration behind creating it?
Well, it's quite a long story, but I suppose we have time at the moment. So it was about this time last year, and I broke up with my girlfriend in like September of 2019 or 2020, can't remember. And I kind of went through quite a bad breakup, and I spent quite a couple of months just kind of really not myself, and I really just wasn't me or anything like that. And I went through quite a bad spell, and then in that January, I kind of started to pick myself up. I found podcasts essentially, and I found a man called James Smith. I don't know if you've heard of him, and then like his mate Darren Cartel, and I remember listening to like all of his podcasts about fitness, and I'm quite big into fitness myself and like sports. So I've always gone to the gym and stuff since I was 16. So I kind of wanted to shake up my life a bit at that point. So, and I didn't really know what like really good nutrition was, or like how basically, it's when people say 90% nutrition, 10% in the gym or something like that. So I didn't really have a clue about nutrition. And I remember listening to all these podcasts thinking, holy shit, like I know what I need to do now. And they were talking about like, the calorie deficit, calorie surplus. Yeah. And they were talking about like different, like, drugs that are used in the fitness industry. They were talking about relationships, work-life balance. And I was listening to all these podcasts thinking, I know exactly what I need to do now. And I thought like over the couple of months when I got back in the gym and I really sorted myself out, and I was working hard and I was listening to all these podcasts, and I thought, maybe I could do this myself. And I was living with my girlfriend in the summer, and she was saying, why don't you start your own podcast? And I was thinking, nah, I can't do my own podcast. I don't know anything about, microphones, sound, how to keep a good conversation up essentially. And then it kind of got to the end of the summer and I really thought like, why don't I start my own podcast? I was thinking, I was looking at like different microphones. I was looking at how to set up your own podcast, and I thought, why don't I do my own podcast? And then I thought like, what can my podcast be essentially? Like what's going to differentiate my podcast to send to like other people, and what's going to make people listen? And I thought, I know a couple of people who have got interesting lives, and a couple of people who have got a good story to tell. And then it kind of occurred to me like everyone's got a story to tell. Everyone's got their own journey that they have, and everyone's got their own thing that they can, express themselves with. So I thought, yeah, why don't I just start interviewing people and talking to people about their life story, their life's work, what they've done, what they're passionate about essentially. And then I got me Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach, Chris. I went up to him at the end of the session. I said, "Hey, Chris, will you be my first episode of a podcast?" And he's like, surprisingly, he said yes. And I was quite buzzing with that. And then, we recorded the first episode and I kind of put it out, and then everything just kind of fell into place after that. And more guests said they'd do it. And yeah, here we are today. And it's good. And I'm buzzing that I've got a podcast now. I'm glad I've done it.
Yeah, it is. That leads on to the second part. I was going to say, like, how did you feel doing the first episode? Did you have any nerves, excitement? What was your process of emotions?
You know what? Thinking back to that first episode now, and it was. I remember the first 10 minutes of that episode. I was so nervous, and to be honest, the whole like day before, I was so nervous. And I contacted Chris, like, let's meet up at this time. And luckily, I'd got a space within the university like studio. I'd been texting the guy, and he said, "Yeah, you can go in this room." So I was like, "Jackpot, I can go in the room." So then I met up with Chris that day. I had I had my big backpack on. I had like my microphones in my bag, and then like the headphones, and I had my computer. And then we got into that room, and I just kind of like, I felt like I crumbled a bit. I was like, oh my, like, this is real. Like, I'm actually going to be recording a podcast. And it kind of all hit me when I was in that room with him, like that, this is going to be put out to people for people to listen. And like, I'm talking about myself, which I'd never really done before. Like I was talking with him, and, I was talking about my own life, and I thought, crap, like I'm talking about myself. People are going to listen. But yeah, like that first episode was really, really nerve-wracking. And yeah, for the first 10 minutes, my voice was just cracking a bit. And then once I got into the podcast, you could tell I was getting a bit more confident. But that first episode was really nervous. But I'm glad I did it. Of course I am.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think the main thing I was worrying about was how long it was going to go on for. Because I was kind of comparing to people of like, well, he does it for an hour and 20 minutes, he does it for an hour. And my thought the day before when I was getting nervous was, what if it lasts like 20 minutes or 15 minutes, or I'll run out of questions? And like, I was thinking these situations through, and I was like, well, what if? And I was just thinking, well, like when you're doing it, the time flies by, but when you kind of like the hour before and you're kind of waiting for it, like, I want to get it done because I want to get into it.
Yeah.
And so yeah. I was like, I had like the first one I had like 4 or 5 pages worth of notes. And I was like, right, if this conversation ends, I'll lead to this conversation and then this conversation. And then by the end of it, we'd only talk about like 3 topics of like the 9 I'd wrote down. And I was like, I think it's one of those things as well where the more you do it, the more confident you get, really. And you learn your style of how you want the kind of podcast to go. And like I say, with this one, I think I'd like to know, how has it impacted on you? Has it improved like your confidence in anything? Have you, the feedback you've got, has it really made you build your confidence up, or anything like that?
Absolutely. I never really realized how many, like, not doors that would open, but like in terms of, some people were asking me to do stuff, and I thought I had a bit of imposter syndrome, like in terms of like, why are you asking me to do this? Like,
yeah.
And like I remember, I think it was December. Like I'd gotten one of the podcast guests, Lee Venus. He was the leader of the Minimalist group in Newcastle, and then he asked me to be a guest for the December meetup, and that was the first time I was like, holy, like what the hell? Like people are asking me to do stuff. And that was one of the big things, like my confidence there. I couldn't believe like that people were asking me to do stuff, and it really helped my confidence when I was like, when I did that, and I was talking to them and about it, and then they were asking me questions about my podcast, and I was thinking, wow. But yeah, sorry, I've kind of gone on a tangent there, but yeah, no, the podcast has helped me with my confidence in terms of like my speaking as well. Like at the start, I don't know if you had this problem as well, but like stuttering, just kind of like not really getting your words out, and you know, trying to articulate what you want to say, but it's not really coming out the way you want it to say. So I think since I started doing that, like the words are just coming out my mouth a lot more and a lot more confident. And I think when you speak to like in a microphone, you know, you slowly just kind of gain confidence and gain like you like not like you like your own voice, but it's bearable to listen to your own voice now.
Yeah.
Whereas at the start it wasn't.
Oh,
I don't know if you had this problem as well.
I know, you listen to it back and I was like, the first like 3 minutes, I was like, oh God, I was like, I don't know if I and like my mum was playing it in the other room and I could like hear the audio and I was like, oh God, I was like, I need to put my headphones in, I can't listen to it. And when I was like watching the first one back with Harry, I was like, first I was like, all right, I'm gonna watch it. I'm not gonna skip it. And I was like, I'll just skip it 30 seconds. I'll skip it a minute when Harry's speaking. I won't worry about that. But I think
proper go on, mate.
No, go on. Honestly, it's fine.
I was just going to ask, you know, like, how was the last couple of weeks been for you then, since starting the podcast?
Yeah, amazing, really. I think the main thing I was trying to do with it was to give myself a hobby, really, obviously, when we're in, like, lockdown that we're in now. And I don't know, just getting the social aspects of things out of it and kind of just embracing it and speaking to different people. And even, like, the feedback you get from it with the comments where it's helped people and, you know, I think it's quite a hard place to really master the podcast because, like you said, there's so many people who do it, and you kind of need that thing that's going to kind of stand out and it's going to get people interested, especially if it's like an hour long. You don't want to just be talking about, like, I could just come on and speak about, you know, footy or cricket, but I think by like 10 minutes or so, someone would be like, oh, click off this now. I've listened to a bit of it. So I think when you speak about things that they're not really spoke about so much on the internet and you know, you're there to kind of express yourself and just to show the people that you can struggle behind the camera or behind a photo on Instagram. And I think it's been great. That's kind of opened my eyes to people who have been experienced in that, who's kind of spoke to me. And that's kind of the impact that's had on me is like, you know, you just kind of, you want to get involved without this, but you don't want to be kind of like prying on them and saying, you okay all the time, or is anything on your mind? Whereas when you've got this platform, it's kind of like the first step for someone to come to you. And I feel like that just helps them with having that someone to speak to. So yeah, I've really enjoyed the kind of the last month or so.
Yeah, and no, like your episodes are really good as well. Listen back to them. I listened to Ball Cafe, the first episode. Yeah. I thought that was absolutely amazing episode. In terms of like the way that he was speaking, you were like really addressing like, you know, your first episode.
Yeah.
So I thought it was quality.
Cheers. I think like you say, it was hard to kind of, I don't know how I wanted to approach it. That's why I had someone who already kind of knew to have the podcast. Because like I found my situations where I like I say, I'm quite a nervous person. So when you do speak to people, you don't really know, even though it's over camera, you're like, how am I going to get this kind of interesting that people are going to listen to? I don't want like an awkward silence every minute where I'm kind of like looking at my notepad, you know, and like my main goal was to not edit it really at all. I wanted it to be kind of like raw, and everything that's said in there isn't kind of, I'm going to say just to put it in a video. I want it to be like straight through. And it's like a natural conversation, like you'd have someone on a walk or in the pub. And yeah, with Harry, it kind of just flown because like obviously he's got a YouTube channel, so he's quite confident in front of the camera, and he's got a lot of stories to tell as well. So I was like, well, this be a good platform. And yeah, I think it's got about 400 views now, which is amazing for a first one. Because when I uploaded, I had no subscribers, so and I was like, I was trying to think of people that get on the podcast, right? And I was like, well, I can't like message them now because it's like if I message them, I've got like 1 subscriber, and I'm like, who's going to want to come on like a podcast with like 1 subscriber? And I was like messaging these people, and I was thinking they're going to think I'm like taking the mic. They'll be like, oh, he's just taking the mic. He's not a real YouTuber. And I was like, oh. So I was like, I'll get someone who's like kind of known. And but actually what's going to lead on, how do you feel like how it goes when you're getting on guests? Do you find it easy, or do you have like sort of a target audience of guests that you're trying to approach to get on the podcast?
Mainly at the moment, I'm trying to get people from like around the Northeast and who have like kind of, quite known in the Northeast. That's my goal at the moment, just trying to get as much Northeast talent as possible, or like, people from the Northeast in general, because, I feel like Northeast doesn't get enough credit, like in terms of just, the people that come out of the Northeast. It's all about London, essentially. London, South, those are that's where a lot of famous people are, or like, but people don't realize the Northeast has some incredible talent, and there's some incredible people here, of course, that is. So I'm trying to like just get people on who are, not widely known.
Yeah, that's the thing as well. Like you're saying about you kind of do want to promote the local areas. So I seen the ones you did with the original African. I was like, oh my god, it came on me Instagram. I was like, is that it? Is that the original African? I was like, oh, I've got to listen to this. I was like, he's like an icon around here, and he's like,
I know,
he's like David Beckham, a Hartlepool. So,
well, that was a weird one. That.
How did you feel doing that one? Were you excited to get it out? Because obviously he was like well known.
I was really nervous going into it because, I'd done my research and I'd watched I watched like a lot of his YouTube videos, and like you said before, I'd had me notes there, and I was like, right, I'm going to ask him this. And then when he came on to like when he joined the Zoom meeting and stuff like that, it's quite funny, but you don't expect people to act like they are in the videos, of course. But like he's just a normal dude. Like he's just got his own aspirations. He's got his own goals. He's just a funny man. But like he probably gets like a lot of negative comments and like negative stuff on Facebook and Twitter and stuff about him. But he's just a normal guy, really. He's just trying to do his own thing, and he's trying to do his own YouTube videos. He's I know he's an actor, and he said he's got some work with Burna Boy, and he was in a Ken Loach film, so he's doing all right for himself, and he was quite funny, actually. Obviously, he's going to be funny, but yeah, no, that was quite surreal, because I didn't think I'd get him, but I just DM'd him one day, just saying, do you want to be on my podcast? And he messaged back saying, yeah, bro, I will, and just that's where it led.
I know he is funny. Like, to be fair, he is really funny. Like when I seen that, I was like, because I think he's one of those people where, like you say, you don't expect him to come onto a podcast because he's quite individual. Like a lot of his videos is just himself, and you don't really see him a lot like collabing. And I was like, I literally popped up. I was thinking, is that is that him? Was that the original African? And I was like, God. I was like, I'm gonna have to watch this, see what the crack is. But I do like the style that you're going as well, because you're quite like me. You like them to do a lot of the speaking as well. So if they say a point, you kind of like prompt it to get the next kind of conversation going. And I think that's the best way to be, because especially on your podcast, I don't want 80% of it to be my voice. I want people to actually hear the guest. And I was trying to think which other one I watched recently, listened to again. Or the Kyle vs. Food. Kyle vs.
Oh yeah,
been watching his YouTube channel as well. And I was just thinking, because when I was listening, I was like, how does Connor approach them? Because like obviously before I set mine up as well, so I was like, if I can try and get some like hints and tips of how people actually approach them, because it's all right listening to kind of like the mainstream ones, but to me, I don't know, one, how much that's actually kind of cut. Two, how long are they actually speaking to them? Because I think when they're in a studio, you can kind of do it for like 3 or 4 hours and kind of like sometimes snip them together. But obviously with a Zoom call, it's quite hard to kind of get to the point. We're not trying to do it too short. So I was trying to kind of look for inspiration with that. But sorry, if I look to the left, I've got me whiteboard. So just
that's all right.
So I was thinking the next part we'll talk about your body transformation. And it is obviously if people kind of go on your Instagram now, they'd never kind of know how far you've come. I think if that's correct in me saying, I don't want to sound like rude or anything, but like it's amazing to see over the years how much you've kind of grown as a person, and obviously feeling comfortable in yourself. So kind of the first thing I was wondering was kind of what was the first step that kind of made you start that journey? Is there kind of a moment that comes across in your mind?
So, when I met you, I was a pretty fat kid. I think I think I got to my peak fatness around about year 10, or about end of year 10, year 11, and got to the point where I remember I got to the point where I had 14 takeaways in 14 days.
Okay.
And then I remember feeling like absolute shit after that.
Yeah.
I remember like looking in the mirror, and I remember seeing my boobs bounce up and down, thinking, nah, I can't do this anymore. So my weight loss journey and my body transformation kind of thing started when I was about 15. And I just hated myself in the mirror, just didn't like the way I looked. And then for about 4 months, I wasn't training at all. I wasn't 4 months. I just knew that I needed to eat less. So I remember for about 4 months, I put myself through absolute hell. I had one piece of toast for breakfast. This was when I was in school.
Yeah.
One piece of toast for breakfast, fruit for lunch, and then I had whatever my mum was making at night, and I told her to make it super healthy. And then I remember I lost about 2 stone in about 2.5 months, 3 months. And then I went to prom, looked $1 million, I thought, at the time. And then I discovered the gym when I was 16, and then my first year of college. And I remember my friend took me to the gym and he showed me a couple of things, and I felt really like at home with the gym when I started going, because this was something that was, for me, it was an individual sport. It was something that I could do individually without teammates or anything. And I felt like I thrived in that challenge, because I started watching like YouTube videos about the gym, fitness, nutrition and stuff. And then I started to get like my beginner gains. I started to, my chest started to come out a bit, my shoulders start to pop a bit. I was thinking, holy shit, I'm going to get so many girls here. But I didn't. But I felt like really confident in myself. Not like really, I just felt confident with the way I looked now. I wasn't that fat kid anymore, and people were noticing. They were, for the first time in my life, I was getting positive comments about my appearance, and if that was a really big thing for me, and I felt really good. My body and my weight had been quite a big toll on my mind for years, and now it was finally starting to change, and that gave me the confidence in college to just kind of like be my own person, essentially. I started to find out who I was as a person. I had some good mates around me. I was going to the gym, I was going out with friends, and I was listening to, I was eating good. I was listening to music. I was really finding who I was as a person. And then, I came out of college and I went to university, and then, anyone who's gone to university knows that your diet's not going to be the best there. You're going out drinking. So then I had a year at university, and then I came back and did a gap year and got back in the gym, started my nutrition out. And then that breakup happened when I came back to uni with my ex-girlfriend, and I found myself, really in the dumps that in January and February, and kind of just looked at myself like I need to change. And it sounds quite cliche, but I just want to get that breakup body. In my mind, I did think, I'm gonna fucking get this breakup body. So I listened to the podcast, and I knew exactly what I needed to do. James Smith and Darren, if I ever meet them one day, then I'm going to give them so much credit for helping me as a person. But listening to the podcast, I knew that I needed to be in a calorie deficit. But I also knew that I could eat the foods I wanted. I didn't just eat chicken breast and rice and no seasoning and vegetables every day. I was eating like chicken pasta, turkey mince pasta. I was eating Morrison's pizzas because they were only 600 calories and I could fit them into my diet. I was getting protein in, and while still remaining in a calorie deficit, and then I lost that weight over last summer. While I was still really happy. I wasn't starving myself. I know a lot of people on diets get really unhappy because they starve themselves of their favorite foods, but I was still eating my favorite foods, while being in a calorie deficit and eating loads of protein. And I remember the feeling that I'd got to the weight that I wanted to, and for the first time in my life, I had some kind of abs and like muscles, and I've thought, like, this is amazing. Like, and that body transformation, gave me a lot of confidence in myself, and I'm so grateful for like health and fitness and sports in general. And to give me like that confidence as like, you know, a young fat kid, it's really, it's just amazing essentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's my body. That's like my story, my body transformation kind of thing.
No, that's great. I think one thing that I appreciate you doing there was when you said you'd had that breakup. Yeah, I think personally, depending on how you felt, you could have went two ways. You could have either went, I'm going to get that beach body, or I'm going to just kind of feel sorry for myself and kind of slip down and down and down and get to kind of a worse place. Especially, like you say, if you didn't commit to your gym and stuff, I feel like you'd have been a lot worse if when you were on your own, if you weren't occupied, and that might have resulted in drinking a bit more, or having one or two extra takeaways a week. So I think it takes a lot of mental strength to focus on something new when something that you didn't want happened. And I think like it takes a good test of character personally, I think from me, because I think I've been in those places where you feel so low that you kind of sometimes you rely on something that you shouldn't really be having, like an extra pizza or an extra, like for me, an extra bottle of rum. And so you open another one, you think, oh, it's only a glass, and then 3 days later you kind of you actually feel like shit because you've done something what hasn't helped your body, and it's ruined your system for a week, and you've got to work twice as hard when you don't even have the motivation to start. So I think for that was great. And again, I'm wondering what was like kind of the first compliment you got? Were they like, obviously the first phase of where you really lost, like you say, 2 stone, 2.5 stone. What was kind of the first like vibe you were getting? Were people, like you say, noticing, but were they complimenting how great you looked, or did it give you a different light?
Yeah. So when I was losing the weight, I was living with my girlfriend, and she noticed straight away that I was like, I was going to the gym and I was starting to lose weight. So she noticed straight away, and she was like, "Oh my god, like I can't believe like how how much weight you've lost so far." And I was like, "Yeah, that like that. Any compliment off a loved one is just the best feeling in the world." And then my mum started to notice. I was living in Newcastle, like I'm living in Newcastle now, but like I remember my mum came up in July, and she was like, "Oh my god, like." And yeah, that is an amazing feeling. And then I posted an Instagram picture on my story. I took that leap. I know it's really hard to like post something on social media when, especially your insecurities for the majority of your life have been like, for me, have been my body. So that was quite a big thing to post my body on Instagram, on my story. And then the amount of like people that like a couple of people just messaging me saying, "This is amazing. Like, have you got any tips? Like, what do I do? How do I do this?" And like that feeling that like that when you give advice to people that you didn't think that you could give advice, if you get me, like it goes back to imposter syndrome. Like, like, do you want advice from me? Like, what have I done? And then like just nice comments and just people talking about, how do I do this? And you say to people, this is what you do. This is what worked for me. This is not going to work for you. But yeah, no, it was just really nice to like hear got positive feedback from people. And like in today's world, like you don't expect people to be nice to you, but people are nice to you, and people will reach out and give you nice comments. And you've got to just be nice. Like that's the thing, just be nice to people. Like it's just as simple as that.
It is. It really is. Like you say, taking the jump's the hardest part, and I feel like when you take the jump, you feel like it's still going to be a fall when you took the jump, but really when you take it, you go to new levels and leaps and bounds. And I feel like you reach people on who you might never really speak to much on Instagram, who you might follow, and they'll just message you all of a sudden. But if you never took that, you would never know their insecurities or how they feel. And I think for you, it's probably quite surreal that you used to watch videos when you wanted to be in their shape, and now you're actually kind of them and people are coming to you. So I guess that must be, like you say, quite rewarding for people to say, coming to you and asking for advice. And I'm wondering, did you have any advice that stuck with you while you were going through it? Because I know you were like watching the YouTube videos and podcasts. Is there anything that really stuck in your mind?
Yeah, absolutely. Eat your favorite foods. Like, make sure you incorporate your favorite foods, because I remember when I was watching the YouTube videos and I was following this like type of bro diet, this bro split, this type of like macho gym boy kind of stuff. And I was eating oats like most days, and I don't fucking like oats. Like I was eating oats, and I just don't like oats, and I kind of like trash on oats a bit and like porridge because I've ate so much throughout my throughout my life, but I just don't like oats. And I was eating them because these Instagram influencers were these social media fitness people were eating oats, but I just didn't listen to myself and my body. I love eggs. I love eggs and toast. I should have been eating that every morning. And then once I started to do that, then I wasn't craving like I wasn't really craving like loads of bad stuff because I was eating foods that I loved, incorporating them into my diet. So that's like one kind of advice that really stuck with me is incorporate your favorite foods into your diet, and it's going to be hard to get at, like it's going to be hard to struggle. Probably another bit of advice that like I'd take, don't compare yourself to others. It's easy to compare yourself to the big fitness influencer who's been doing YouTube for 4 years, who's got the perfect body. Like they're 4 years into it, and you're comparing yourself when they've done it for 4 years, and you're just on day one. So like, don't compare your journey to other people's journeys. That's like one of the biggest advices I could give if anyone's on about losing weight or just starting the gym. Learn, go on YouTube, just learn everything, but don't compare yourself to other people.
That's actually one of the points that I was going to make later on, was when I was talking about social media, but we'll just talk about now because it's kind of
go for it.
Down to it. But I feel like social media has its pros, but it's kind of like a trap as well. And I feel like when you're not in the right headspace, or you're trying to follow someone, it's so deceiving how someone can kind of just talk about something that sounds so easy, or it might be so easy to them. Like you say, they might put one post on of a workout for 20 minutes, but they're no doubt in my mind, they're going to the gym for another 3 hours after that video and doing extra stuff. There's no, like, you've got to do it at your pace, and everyone's different. Everyone's body's different. And I feel like when I was scared to talk about like losing my hair and stuff, I thought like, you never hear the stories of where they've kind of like it's been a good effect on them. You kind of only hear the stories of, wow, you're 22 and losing your hair. And you kind of like, you just look at people who, like you say, these influencers and models and people on TV with the perfect hair and the perfect body. And you kind of just sit there, and sometimes it even makes you feel like worse in a way, because yeah, your mind's saying, I want to look like that. But a lot of the times you won't. And I've got to say, like, one of the bullet points I've got to say is you got to embrace who you are, really. That's my biggest thing is, like, when I shaved my head, I was not going to look like The Rock, I was not going to wake up the next day and be massive with a six pack and like I can bounce my pecs around and everything. I'm not going to look like that. I'm going to still look like Ben, just without the hair. And I was thinking, like, you need that. You can't compare. Like, I was trying to compare people who had the head shave, and I was like, but that's not going to be what I look like. I was like, if I never accept who I am and what I look like, then I'm never going to be really happy, because I'm going to keep looking at so-and-so and so-and-so. And that's kind of the social media kind of things. I think about, like, on here, I've got down there, like, positive communities. And I feel like when you're doing something like us with these podcasts, you want it to be a positive thing but you also kind of want it to be a real thing. And I don't want to kind of like spill things that to make people think it might be all right, because there is a lot of things that people don't speak about that actually will help someone. So like you say, when I was talking about my video, the last one I was talking about like mental health, I was saying you've got to kind of like ride out the hard times to feel the good. You can't just have the good straight away when you're feeling down. And what I've learned is when you're so low, the highs feel even better when you've experienced that. And like I say, if I wonder if you've got any opinion on kind of like the pros and cons of social media and how you feel it kind of, well, especially our age, because everyone's on it all the time, how you feel like it impacts our lives in particularly.
Yeah. What people, especially social media, and I'll talk about Instagram for a bit. But one of the big problems about Instagram is that, people take pictures, and these social media influencers, and they've got the mint abs, and they've got like the lasses have like got good body and stuff like that. But a lot of these pictures that they take, it's they've practiced this for so long. They've got the angle down to a T. They know the best lighting. They know the best way to make their abs look hard. They know the best way to make the bum look big. And like, for them to take a picture and then put it on Instagram, it's something that's been planned for ages. And then we look at these pictures and think, fuck, I wish I looked like that, but without realizing that there's so much goes into taking that picture, and it's not realistic at all. It's really not realistic. And you'll see someone with a drink in the sun and they're in Dubai, or I know everyone's going to Dubai at the moment, all these social media influencers.
Yeah.
But going back to like not comparing yourself to them, it's just don't compare yourself to someone who's does that for a living and posts pictures online for a living and has got everything down to a T and make themselves look big. And Instagram is quite toxic, but it's also got its pros. There's a lot of helpful advice on Instagram. There's a lot of truthful advice. It's we're in an age now where we don't have to look in books for advice and proper facts anymore. So we can look to social media for that like type of advice, and we can go on the internet. But yeah, no, Instagram is quite a big. I do go on it quite a lot, but I know there's a lot of false information on there, and it is easy to get sucked into. Twitter is just, I won't talk about Twitter because it's like it hasn't really affected me at all. But Twitter's just jokes and it's just quite funny. But now probably Instagram and like that type of social media, that's where a lot of people will compare themselves to. But yeah, as I said, going back before, just don't compare yourself because you're not them, and find yourself.
Yeah, I think our age group and generation were kind of like likes happy on Instagram. You need to have 100 likes. People are posting on peak time for this like virtual like, and I think that's kind of like how our age is, because I don't know because for someone who I use it like you said, but I don't post like on my personal. I'll probably post like once a year, twice a year. Like if you go on holiday or at Christmas, I'm not like I'll put on my story, I'll put food on. That's really what I'll do, food and drinks. But I'm not going to be like posing in my garden, I'm not that type of person.
Yeah. Pull a mirror out into the back garden.
Yeah, so like, especially for me, I'm not bothered if I put a photo on that gets 30 likes. That's fine. But I think it's an easy thing to fixate on. And I think if it's like, if it hasn't got a certain amount of likes, people might delete a post or like that. And I think it's to people who don't get it, who aren't our age, they'll think, oh, it's just that. But I think some people just feel good if they do well on Instagram. And I guess it's not the greatest thing to compare to, but I think as a platform, when you've got sort of something where people like your photo, it kind of does make you feel good. And that's why people are kind of scared to take leaps, because if you look different on Instagram, like we've done before, you're scared in case no one likes it. Or no one reacts, or no one says anything. So it does definitely have its pros. But like it's just like anything in life, hasn't it? It's got its pros and its cons, really. But yeah, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to discuss in the podcast.
I kind of want to ask you, you had your first episode, Ball Cafe. How much of an influence is he to you? Like, because it seems like you've had a massive year in terms of your own like development and finding yourself. Like, we talked about me, I kind of had the change in February, but I want to know, when did you have the change? Or like when you've really, a moment that you really found yourself?
Yeah, I'd probably say like, I'm trying to think. So like 2020 was obviously like, it's like a shit year for everyone, really, wasn't it? It was like a lockdown and we didn't get any...
shite. Yeah.
But I think it was a year where you could really kind of think about things that you would never think about before, because you had so much time on your hands. And I kind of like, my opinion of me was, I was always quite like, I'm not shy to an extent, but I'm not the greatest person kind of in new situations. So like, say like if I joined a new like cricket club, for me, I'd be so nervous because I don't know anyone. And that to me scares me a lot, because it's a new situation. So like I say, I was going through this like hair loss, and I'd been like losing my hair since I was about 14, 15. And I was kind of just, I was tired of like worrying, and that related to a lot of people. Was I was walking outside and I was scared if it was windy on a night out, if it was raining, and I was going on holiday and I wasn't enjoying it at all, and I was scared to go in the pool, or if it was windy at the beach. And I kind of just, I felt bad in myself because I was kind of pushing it aside. But realistically, something with hair loss, it gets worse. So I was only going to get worse. So I stumbled across Bald Cafe, and I was just watching these videos, and someone had said like they'd been worrying about doing sports and being running in the wind and running in the rain and being scared in case people are looking at them. And I thought like that's really relatable to me, because that's a lot of my worries is people noticing it, and people probably don't even care too much, but because especially with kind of our generation, you sometimes are scared to be slightly different, or a comment being made, especially like with our age as well, because we're in our 20s, but we are quite young for for changes in life. Like you expect to lose your hair, like I did for when I was like 40, not now. And it's all about like adjustment phase. You've got to kind of think, well, it's happening, there's nothing I can do. And I'd never kind of like looked at hair transplants or anything like that. I was never like, I was like, I don't want to do that. I was like, one, it when I do go bald, because I will if I have a hair transplant still, because I'd have to get topped up or kind of hide it again. And then when I do go bald, I'm gonna have these scars. And I was like, well, I'm going to be self-conscious about being bald, and I don't want to be self-conscious about having scars as well. So that was like one of my major factors when I was like looking at things. And then I came across Harry's channel, and I was like, I emailed him, and I was just like, somewhat along the lines of like, oh, I'm so and so years old, and I'm feeling down. And he was like, take the jump, but take the jump when you're ready, because you're going to feel even better when you're fully going to do it, because it is a big change, like you're saying. It's an adjustment when you look in the mirror, and you don't have to quickly like do this to swipe me fringe across, or if I'm getting a photo on Snapchat to send to a girl, a girl. I don't have to quickly like check the lights on or put a hat on, and yeah. So like the start of the year, I was like, I'm gonna do it, and like I said on the video, I went for a run and I'd put my hair up. Like, and I'd never really went out ever with my hair up. And I thought, well, that wasn't too bad. And I was like, if I can get rid of this, then I can just do it. And I did it. And I was thinking, like, my mom was saying, oh, you'll probably like not like it too much the first couple of days, because it's such a big change from like your last kind of 22 years. And I was like, it was just like a weight off my shoulder. And I don't know if when you were having your body transformation, it was kind of like a new lease of life. Like you were looking at things differently, and you were worrying about other things that you can also kind of build upon and learn from. So yeah, so as a long-winded story that was, I'd probably say like the back end of kind of 2020, but it was been on my mind for quite a few years. Yeah.
Absolutely. The one thing, when you posted that on Instagram, I thought that was really, really ballsy and really amazing. I thought it was good because it was kind of like the first time that I'd ever seen someone talk about that on social media. And I kind of think that when you posted that, there was probably a lot of people who were maybe going through the same thing as you. And they thought, shit, Ben's talking about this, Ben's done this. Like maybe I should talk about it, and maybe I should talk about this problem that I'm having because Ben's talking about it. So I think because you were like the first person I know that was talking about this issue, I thought you could influence people to really open up about this.
Yeah, like you say, it was like one of those things where, because it's our age of people, you never think about it. So I think anyone who was going through it would hide it, because you don't want to be like, I wouldn't care now, but I never wanted to be the guy who was losing his hair in a nightclub, or on holiday. And I didn't want that. I didn't want that worry of, my biggest thing was, if I walk up to someone, are they going to notice it? But for any other reason, I was down anyway then, so they wouldn't have been interested anyway, because I wasn't really myself. So the hair wasn't the biggest thing. It was actually me feeling confident in myself. That was what kind of learned that, if you approach anything in life, you're not always going to get the result you want. That's what I've learned, is you're never always going to get the yes, or I was going to say the dance. Oh, for example, I was going to say, you never get, sometimes you do get rejection, but if you go feeling confident, that's 10 times better than me feeling down and knowing it's going to be a no before I already went up there. And yeah, it was a big change, and like the comments and stuff. And I'd found like people had messaged me saying, "Oh, I never knew you were going through this kind of thing." And I think that was my main thing why I set this up as well, is because, like you say, I might be in a nightclub and 10 people of the 100 people might be going through it, and no one speaks about it, because it's kind of like I don't know. I don't know how you'd really explain it. Really, it's kind of like a thing that no one talks about because we're so young. And
yeah, absolutely, I totally agree with you there.
Yeah, and I think like a stigma of it is you have to be old, or you have to be late 30s to 40s, and then you start losing it. But like, no, like it's like anything in life, isn't it? Like anything can happen at a certain age, and you've just got to kind of build from that and just be the best person you can be, really. And like I was reading on one of the quotes the other day, and it was live for today because tomorrow's not guaranteed. And I know that's kind of cringy, but I didn't want to be the kind of guy who lived for 30 years worrying about his hair, and I've missed out on kind of a big chunk of my life where I shouldn't really have to worry about anything. I thought if I can shave that off, new me, and then just focus on myself. And I kind of think with this as well, you kind of, this kind of thing, you're worried about people's opinions. And again, so what I'm trying to say is like, obviously opinions are nice, and you always want to be kind of like the guy that people see in the club or in a bar, and people want to be like looking at you and think, oh, he looks nice. But there's nothing to say someone can't look nice without hair, you know? It's all about pride and appearance. And what I've kind of found was I've got back into like fitness like you did when you were making the jump and the change, and I've been going for runs and walks and doing my weights. And I think it's just one thing when the gym's open again, I don't have to worry about if I'm going into the gym, has it been windy and I've had to quickly, you know, check a mirror or put my head down or put a cap on. I can just go in, shower in the gym. I tell you what, kind of showering's amazing. You can literally shower, put your shirt on, you're off. Honestly, it's actually amazing.
Mate, I can imagine, because I know for me personally, it takes me ages to do, not just do my hair, but the process.
Yeah.
I get in the shower and then I have to let it dry for an hour. Like, because if I, because my hair's kind of long at the moment, because, you know, get the barbers open, please. Yeah. But like my hair's long at the moment, so it takes quite a long time to dry. So I have to like get a shower, let my hair dry for an hour, and then go and style it, which is such a pain in the ass. And I'm so jealous of you, the fact that you can just go in the shower and come out and just go, done. And it looks good as well. It looks good.
Oh, thanks, man. Honestly, I was like, it was one of those things, Joe, where you're like, what? Well, my first thought was, what's your head shape going to be like? And like in your head when you're laid there, like on a night and you're worried about, you think your head's going to be like a massively like lopsided, you know, like my jaw's there. And I was like, but then again, my factor of earlier is me worrying about that's not going to change what my head looks like. You know, it's always going to look like my head. It's the head from when I was born. So, you know, it's never going to change. And I think, yeah, it does. It for me, as soon as you do it, you learn the pros of it. Before you do it, you're always thinking the negatives. And I think that's like you say with anything in life, you've got to just, if you're ready, make the jump, feel confident in yourself, and then just own it. That's all you can do now. All I can do now is own it. I could kind of grow my hair back, but it'll be patchy, and again, I'd probably just find being in the same cycle of where I was before. So it's the life, the card dealt me. So we're gonna roll with it.
Mate, roll with it, because I think it looks good, and you've got the mint beard going. So you're killing it, mate. Now you're killing it, and the fact that it's like you feel like you've lifted a weight off your shoulders as well. That must be really good.
Yeah, it's kind of surreal, you know. It's like a thing where you never think you're going to do it. You think it's always going to be there. So like the couple of days after, I was kind of still. It was surreal that it was gone. The worry, like it was like, well, what, I can walk outside now. I don't have to worry, or I can go to the swimming. Yeah. And
did you think that before you'd shaved your head, did you think, oh, the worries are not going to go once I do this?
Yeah, I thought they'd transform into another worry of me having no hair. That was what I thought it would go from. It'd go from me worrying about having my hair thinning to me worrying about not having hair. But yeah, I thought it really helped me with the thought of the advice that Harry gave me was, if you're worried about like say a girl's not going to be interested in you because you haven't got hair, well, that's not the person for you, really, is it? It's an appearance-based thing, and like we say, for our age, is a lot of things is down to appearance. But you know, if someone's not going to be interested because you haven't got hair, move on and find someone who is going to be interested for you and interested in you for who you are, because like I say, you're not going to change. And if I'd have kept, like in Harry's video, he was talking about when he met his now wife, and he was saying about if I can keep my hair, because obviously she met him when he had hair, so he was like, I can keep my hair, but I'll be miserable if you want me to keep my hair, or I can shave it off and be happy. And obviously she's the one for him because she stuck with him through it all. So like you say, if you've got little, I feel like when I was worrying, I had little energy, and I was wasting the energy on, you say, the things that I shouldn't have been, you know, the negative things that I could have really just passed by, which now I'd probably think, oh, that doesn't matter, or who cares if so and so doesn't like it, because I feel happy. And yeah, like a relief. You can't explain the relief though. Like you'll have felt it when you got your beach bod. You know, you can't feel it. Feels surreal because at one time you probably wouldn't have want to took off your shirt, or you'd have shied away from certain situations, or you'd never think you'd feel this good. And kind of all that worry when you reach the top point, it is like a whoa. What do I do next? Like where do I go?
Yeah.
I was thinking, like, I was saying about obviously mental health, and that took a toll on me. I was wondering if you've had any experiences. Obviously, we don't have to go too much into detail, but how you've ever coped with feeling low, or have you got any like go-to things? Like mine's listening to music, but I was wondering what you've got for advice.
Yeah, no. So during that like stint last year when I wasn't feeling good, I wasn't. I only realised afterwards that I wasn't like I'm responsible for my own happiness. That's true. But I wasn't doing the things that made me happy. And I kind of really only realized this until afterwards when I started, I wrote down things that made me happy, and they were the gym, my girlfriend, reading, walking, seeing my family. And during that time, I realized I wasn't really, like, I didn't have a girlfriend at the time actually. But I wasn't going to the gym regularly. I wasn't reading books. I wasn't seeing my family because I was in Newcastle and I was doing my university work. I didn't really have good people around me at the time, like in terms of like my friends, and they weren't really supportive, or they weren't really asking, about, how I was or anything like that. So at the time, I didn't really have the resources around me, but I've also wasn't doing the things that made me happy. So I kind of, looking back now, I realized no wonder I was feeling sad, because I wasn't going to the gym, I wasn't eating right, and I wasn't reading my books, I wasn't going out for walks, I wasn't seeing friends pretty much. And then from like afterwards, I wrote down what I need to make me happy. So in my everyday week at the moment, I try and go for a workout, or like there's a couple of pull-up bars, there's a pull-up bar and there's like a dip bar. So I go and try and do a workout. I try and do like 15, 20 minutes of reading every day. Like I've got a book on the go. Try and phone my mum. I phone my girlfriend every day. So I'm trying to, like, especially at the moment lockdown, it's quite hard to like keep your spirits up and just be generally positive about things. So I'm just trying to do certain things like that I know will make me happy. And even if it's just like a cup of coffee or like a shower or something like that, or just phoning someone, like these little things like add up to a lot. You're keeping goals, just, doing things that make you happy, and you've got to figure out what makes you happy first. So then you can go through like that, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's answered your question, but yeah.
No, yeah, of course. It's all about, you got to find the things that make you happy for when you do feel sad. It's a kind of little bit of relief. And like you say, it doesn't cure the whole thing, but why not enjoy something for 20 minutes rather than sitting in those 20 minutes being negative and feeling sad? So like for me, I listen to,
for you.
Yeah, I listen to music. I'll just put like my headphones in and just chill for half an hour or so, watch a bit of YouTube. But like, it was one of those things, like you say, around like friends and stuff, where when I was feeling down, I didn't really want to open up about it, because it was kind of like, friends are jokey, aren't they? And sometimes you don't want to get too serious and how you're feeling. And there was one time where I think, when was it? It was probably like September last year, or October, John. We went back into all these like tier phases,
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, I actually felt awful, and I was like, right, I'd had a drink, and I was like, my mind was racing. I was like, who do I tell? And I just put it in the group, and then but I'd sent it like of how I was feeling and everything like that. And I was like, so this is before I shaved my head or anything. And I was like, I sent this, and I was like, I'd sent it, and I kind of like regretted it at first. I was like, oh, why have I said that? Because I don't want to show any weaknesses to them, because you're like, oh, what if I get roasted? I was like, I don't want to be the roast. So
roast the Ben.
So it's like, I sent it, I was thinking, shit, what am I gonna say? I was like, how can I backtrack it to say, oh, I'm all right? And then like loads of people were replying really quick, and it was all like good stuff. And I was like, I've got something off my chest, and I was speaking to like my parents and stuff and my mum, but I kind of didn't feel like it was a genuine kind of conversation, because your parents are always going to be kind of on your side, or they'll say some things, to sugarcoat it so you don't feel as bad. And I feel like when you spoke to people outside of that family circle, and you get just a different like outlook on it and a different opinion, and like I say, it was like a relief when you speak to someone, because it is it can be lonely just not speaking to anyone, like about these things, because when it's only your mind and you thinking about it. I'd read about somewhere when you go to sleep, you've got 70% of your brain's trying to sleep, but I think it was like 30% is a kind of a before sleep pattern of everything that's negative in your mind. And it's kind of a thing where before you're trying to process going to sleep, these things creep in. And you've got to kind of be in a right frame of mind before you go to sleep of, right, I feel good. If anything comes up in my mind, I can worry about it tomorrow. You don't want to be, if it comes up in your mind, I'm going to be laid there for 4 hours. And that's how I was. I was like, God, if I, like, on a night, if you can't sleep and before you know it's like 3 o'clock in the morning and you're still like, it's been like a blink and you haven't slept. And I'm like, God, I can't sleep here. And I was like, as soon as I spoke about things and speaking to people who also had the experience, I was like, well, this is great, because it helps me as a positive platform for someone to speak to, and I hope it's obviously helping them as well. So that's kind of my coping mechanisms for them.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there in terms of, like it's very hard. It's very hard to speak to other men about your own problems, especially when it's your friends. And this goes back down to the like mental health thing with, especially with males, when 3/4 of all suicides are men. It is really hard to talk to your friends. And, we could put on social media and stuff, we can talk about these like posts about like, oh, let's do this for the men, 75% of suicides and stuff. We can talk about that on social media. Yeah. And it's great. And, gets the word out and probably promotes a lot more mental health stuff. But like, if you wanted to talk about that with other people, it's quite hard, I think, to just generally open up to other people apart from your loved ones. I know, like you said before, like getting roasted. Like I have a group chat with like my mates at school and stuff, and I like even just the little things that they'll attach onto and they'll roast you for it. Like even a spelling mistake, and you're like, fuck me, I need to get me spelling on point here. But I mean, like if you put something big in the group, then I'm sure like I know, like I've a couple of times in like my group chat with like the lads, someone's put something big, like a problem or like a big event, and like the mood in the chat just kind of like turns serious, and like kind of it turns a different mood, and everyone's kind of like talking to each other about it, and someone suggests this, say like, oh, maybe why don't you do this and why don't you do that? But when there's like always an atmosphere about roasting and stuff, it is. I do understand how it is hard for other men to talk about their own issues, and I do understand how easy it is to just bottle things up in general, and you just kind of get into that headspace where you think they're not going to care about my problems, like they don't really want to talk to me, or like I'm meant to deal with this by myself. Like those are just some of the things that like you probably go through your own mind.
Yeah, it's like you say, it's one of those, like, it was a situation where in our day and age with social media, I felt like I was kind of fake posting things on Facebook and stuff, like the positive quotes and that. And
yeah.
Like the mental health awareness days. And I kind of felt fake in myself because I was sharing these things, but I wasn't even happy when I was sharing it, I was like, I was preaching things where I'd never even overcome my mental health struggles. So I feel like if I'd made this podcast before I'd made a big change in my life, I felt like I'd have been kind of fake on it, because I'd have been trying to give people advice and speaking out situations, and really when I turned the camera off, I would have been feeling bad. So that was kind of that, like I just wanted to kind of speak about the social media and the mental health side of things. And I've not got much too left in, so if you want to have any questions to fire away, go ahead, mate.
No, I've got down here, I was like, like in the last, you're 22 now, aren't you? Same age as me, 22. What's been like the biggest thing in the last couple of years that like you kind of like thought, shit, like, I'm a grown up now, like what's kind of really happened? Like how have you grown as a person in the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think responsibility is one of the biggest things, I feel like I was kind of always kind of responsible before I'd turned like 18, 19, you know, those years. I was always kind of, if we were doing a holiday in the group chat, I was always be the one who'd book it, you know. But I feel like addressing things with responsibilities and kind of just, you know, I kind of felt like when I was 21, I was still 18. So like if you're in work and stuff and you'd be like having a joke around and stuff. And I was thinking like, shit, I'm like, well, I was always like 22 at the time. I was thinking, God, like I'm gonna have to kind of like, you know, when you look at other 22-year-olds and you think, God, they're like mature and like the suits and that.
Yeah.
And there's me, you know, just joking on. I was like, I need to like really nail down something where, you know, I've got to be confident in myself, but I've got to also kind of mature the fact that, you know, like this year, 23, you know, time flies, and I want to kind of like, I want to have this opinion of me where I can be kind of jokey, but I also want to be kind of serious as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I'm trying to think of like a scenario where it's really changed my outlook. But I've got kind of one of like a situation where I kind of learned from it because I was kind of, it was like a change in experience, you know, and like there were certain things when I was kind of like, when you were like younger and stuff, and when you shy away from things. So for me, I was shying away from joining new clubs, or I'd love to have stuck to the cricket, but when I was kind of doing it, I wasn't really like involved, you know. And I was kind of, I felt like joining a relationship where you're the third wheel. I was like the third wheel water boy.
Yeah.
You. And,
Yeah, there was the big lads, weren't there, who were like really good. And
yeah, there was like
there was just us.
And there was us, and the numbers, we were filling the numbers in. So I was like, I kind of did really like these situations. I really did kind of regret not standing up for myself of like, I'm going to stick at this, because probably over time I would have got more confident and I would have spoke up a bit more. I said, can I have another go at this? But like with anything in my life, I kind of like went for 6 months, I'd quit, and I'd joined something else for 6 months and I'd quit. And I was like, I kind of regretted a lot of things, because now I've pretty much lost any sport really, like of clubs, you know, where people have been there a long time. And it is kind of hard to join things, you know, because when you go to these things, a lot of them have been there since they were like 10. So they've all got like this kind of bond, you know. And like, you don't want to be that guy who comes in for 6 balls of a spinner and thinks he's a know-it-all and shouting at people. Like I was like, oh, I don't know. I think, yeah, like taking opportunities would be my main thing, you know, not regretting anything, where now I think I could have done that better, or I could have said yes to that, or anything like that. But what about you? I'll switch it to you. Is there anything that's really made you change?
Yeah, and when you said that you were 21, still feel 18, like I totally agree with that. Like I know when I was 18, that was 4 years ago, but that feels like yesterday.
Yeah,
that feels like, and I think like when you turn 18, life just goes so fast. Like in terms of just growing up, growing older, and it's quite hard to just like kind of adjust to this process of, you know, getting older. You know, you're not going to be a teenager forever. You're not going to be in your early 20s forever. And like, you know, like you said, like taking responsibility. And I totally agree with you. The fact that don't let opportunities like get pass you by. Because I know one of the big things that I've done in the last year or two is just kind of like trying new things, trying to find things that like I enjoy and that are going to make me happy. And I took up like Brazilian jiu-jitsu, the sport. That's like our Chris on the first podcast. That's how I first met him. So like I started doing that, and you know, I fell in love with the sport. And like it's one of the best things I've done is just going there and trying something new. And it is scary going into that like kind of environment for the first time, as you said, when people have been there 4 years. You know, there's people in there who could just fucking destroy me in like 2 seconds. But you know, as we were saying before, like don't compare their day 5,000 to your day 1. So like I wanted to have that mindset going in there, and it is hard to keep up that mindset when you feel like, you know, you are working hard and you are doing like everything possible, but you know, growth doesn't take like an hour. It takes a bloody long time. So I think just kind of enjoy the process of being young and being in your early 20s and late teens, and just take every opportunity you can. And we can sit here as 22-year-olds and say that, but yeah, it is true. Like, and it is true. Do that. Take opportunities and try the new things.
Yeah, that's great. So I think obviously we'll honestly we're doing for like an hour and 10 minutes. So I'm just gonna end it with a question for you, right? And this is what I'm going to try and incorporate. you know, I'm a food lover, you know, I'm not a fighter, I'm a food lover. And I was just wondering if you could only have a starter, a main, and a dessert for the rest of your life, what would you choose? And I'm going to put you on the spot. So what pops in your mind that you'd have as your last sort of
Right, starter.
Yeah.
Starter, chicken tikka chat from the Dilshad in Church Street.
Yeah, okay.
And then for dinner, I'd probably, not for my main course, I'd probably have a full chicken from Nando's, hot spice, peri salted chips, corn on the cob, and then probably the garlic bread on the side with the garlic sauce, like that Nando's do, drizzled on top of the garlic bread. Oh, mate, lovely. And I'd fucking demolish the whole chicken as well. I love meat. Love the thighs, love the breast, everything like that. And then dessert. Mate, you've put me on the spot because I'm not really a big dessert man, but I do love profiteroles. So I'd probably have like some profiteroles there, and then I'd probably have like proper classic school sponge with like loads of custard.
That honestly, man, that sounds unreal. I won't lie. I'm the same as you. I don't really like. I'd eat a dessert, but I'd choose a starter over a dessert.
Yeah, same.
I haven't really got the biggest sweet tooth, really. So I'm like, I'd rather have like, you know, a nachos or chicken wings or, you know, mozzarella sticks, you know, anything like that.
Garlic bread, yeah. Talk about food for ages.
So honestly, like I say, I really appreciate you coming on, man. And
mate, I loved it.
And yeah, so I'll end the episode here, and then